Errol Spence is back. Well, at least that's what he posted. Errol Spence says, I'm back. Brand new year, 2024. Happy New Year to everybody. We made it. Errol Spence posted these two things on his social media. He looks like he bought a new horse for his ranch. So it's cool to see, he's just chilling with the fam, spending time on the ranch. And I don't know, I'm not the smartest brother in the world, but that horse probably costs a lot of money. But then this is what will interest the boxing fans. He posted this picture. It looks like TD Jakes with his tongue out, and it says, I'm back. Very cryptic. Errol Spence has been known to do this cryptic post on social media. So leave it to your boy Boxing Ego to kind of break everything down. For starters, Amazon Prime is the new home of PBC, and I can't wait. I was waiting for 2024 to hit on the calendar because I'm very curious to see how PBC goes about handling the new deal with Amazon Prime. I also believe that there's likely another deal, another network, another platform. If you know Al Heyman and you know how he's operated in the past, I wouldn't put it past, because PBC, you have to look at it. PBC has like over 150 plus fighters. Their roster, by far the biggest in boxing, and housing so many fighters. I read the press release for Amazon Prime, and they were talking about like 14 dates, which is there's 12 months in a year, 14 dates and this and shoulder programming. I really don't know if that would even be enough to actively keep all your fighters active, right? Unless they're fighting on other people's cards and stuff. So I guess we'll have to see. But a fight that should be up next, there's a rematch clause, Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Now, the first fight did not go Errol Spence's way. I made a separate video about it. Victor Conte, he broke the news and gave his opinion as to why Errol Spence, he said, why the F didn't Errol Spence look his normal self? One theory, or at least from Victor Conte, and mind you, Victor Conte works with Terrence Crawford. He doesn't work with Errol Spence, but he's given a rationale in his honest opinion as to why Errol Spence looked out of sorts. He says that Errol Spence made a dangerous and grave mistake. He says that Errol Spence ran Mount Charleston in Las Vegas 5 days before the Terrence Crawford fight. Now, I'll put a card at the end of this video. You guys need to check out that so you can hear my thoughts specifically on that, but I will recap a little bit of it in this. It is so funny to me, the best in the business, and it's not even close, that some people have such a hard time admitting that Victor Conte's theory is plausible. They say, for some reason, they're blaming Ego. They say, Ego, you still on that fight? Ego, you still making excuses? Ego that, Ego this. How is this me when this is Crawford's team? People who provided supplements and training facilities and routines and regimens for Terrence Crawford. Somehow you guys, the P-brains in boxing, they feel this is Ego. I'm giving you my opinion on what he said, and it sounds very plausible and very realistic. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to identify a few things. For one, Crawford, he's a great fighter. Crawford is a beast. Nobody's denying that. Crawford can fight. He can fight his butt off. So doesn't take away from Crawford's effort. It doesn't change that Crawford is 2x undisputed. It's just most people, if we're being realistic and we address the elephant in the room, Errol Spence himself didn't look like the regular Errol Spence. It's not even like I'm okay with the fighter losing. But if you watched the whole career of a fighter and you watch, another fight, two things can be the same. Like, for example, Errol Spence Jr., Jermell Charlo, and Deontay Wilder. What do those three fighters from PBC have in common? Oops, I just gave one of the thing away. They're all three PBC fighters. They're all Black American fighters. But here's the catch. All three fighters were on year-plus layoffs. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. So what does this mean? So why did I say that? Because I'm the best in the business. Errol Spence fought Ugas. Crawford got a in-between fight with a guy that couldn't beat him, David Avocado. Then he fought Errol Spence. These are the facts, right? Cryptic. Canelo has been an active fighter, and he got a fight in Mexico against a guy who couldn't beat him, John Ryder, who we knew couldn't beat him when the fight was first announced. Meanwhile, Jermell Charlo had been out the ring off a hand injury because he had to pull out of a January fight with Tim Tszyu, and Jermell Charlo was off of a year-plus layoff, plus injury, plus moving up 14 pounds. So you can see how that spells disaster for Jermell Charlo, right? That's a lot of things being waged against you. You're moving up 14 pounds to fight Canelo. Baby, you want baby? I know that. Canelo's already a great fighter. See, and this is not taken away from the opponent. It's just stating the facts, which a lot of people in boxing have a problem with. They don't like when I get busy with the facts. You're moving up 2 weight classes, AKA 14 pounds. You're fighting a great fighter in Canelo Alvarez, who's also been active, and you haven't been active, and you're coming off of a hand injury. You see the dilemma. And then finally, Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Oh my God, to this day, right? He just fought Joseph Parker and he was upset. Again, those three fighters have three primary things in common. They're all Al Heyman advised PBC fighters, all Black and American fighters, and then they all were off inactivity. So the point I'm making is we're in a brand new year, 2024, and you look at the mistakes that fighters made in 2023 in some of these big fights. Inactivity is definitely one of them. You don't want to fight a Canelo. You don't want to fight a former champion Joseph Parker, and you don't want to fight against Terrence Crawford for sure, and you're off inactivity. I mean, it is what it is. But these guys are prideful. There are opportunities to fight, because you look at Deontay Wilder. He only had one round in like 2.5 years since the Tyson Fury 3 fight. And that was one round versus Robert Helenius. That's not a fight. One round is not a fight. You're not in a real fight if you're only fighting one round, because Wilder threw 2 punches and the second punch knocked the man out clean because he got power like that. And that was that. But that's not a true fight, meaning you're getting punched in the face, your gas tank and stamina is tested, things of that sort. So it's just completely different. And that's the reality. Meanwhile, Joseph Parker, since the knockout loss to Joe Joyce, if you look at it, I believe he fought 3 times, and he fought like 50 days before. And I think he even fought in Saudi Arabia. So acclimation and things like that. And he had a recent fight in like October. So he was ready and sharper than Wilder come the day of reckoning, which was like end of December 23rd, I think. Right. So these are the realities. So I don't have any doubt in my mind. I think Errol Spence will be better in the rematch. And some people are like, hey, you just said Mount Charleston. First of all, I said it's plausible. Victor Conte said it, and Virgil Hunter. They said that it's foolish, and I can understand their angle saying it's foolish. For me, I don't think in elite fights, a lot of times it's not just one thing. It's like an accident. Like, I watched this special about accidents, and they broke down like the anatomy of an accident, like let's say a car crash or a boating accident or a train wreck or just any kind of accident, right? And they were basically talking about like, okay, so the train conductor in the morning had a checklist. He skipped one of the things that he was on the checklist, being lazy, and then that one checklist was a faulty thing, but he would have found it if he would have actually went through the checklist, which would have prevented the accident. Or let's say it's a car accident. If there's like a 20 car pileup and then they find out the person who started the accident was running late to work, right? So had that person woke up on time and not been rushing in the rain, then that whole accident would have been avoided. So that's my thoughts. When you look at disastrous performances like Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker, where it's one-sided, or Errol Spence one-sided loss to Terrence Crawford, I don't think it's any one thing. I'm not saying it's, oh, Errol Spence ran up Mount Charleston, because if he ran up Mount Charleston, but he was in there with someone not named Terrence Crawford, then that's his own situation. Like running up Mount Charleston in and of itself is not enough. Because if he was fighting like, let's say Mario Barrios, maybe he still beats him under that. But if you do have weight drain, your legs are like tapped from running Mount Charleston, you're also inactive because you hadn't fought since the Ugas fight. So timing, sharpness, you know, all these things put together, now you see it coming together and formulating on how you could put up a disastrous night. And that's what Errol Spence had. So I definitely look forward to Errol Spence really coming correct. And even if he doesn't win, I think it'll be a better showing. Plus, I think he's going to try to negotiate to get it at the higher weight. And that's something I really wish fighters wouldn't do. But hey, fighters have a mind of their own. What do I mean? I feel like if it's your time to move up, you need to move up. We've seen it with Errol Spence. We've seen it with Teofimo Lopez. And we've seen it with other fighters like Ryan Garcia, right? These three fighters constantly put it out in the media, constantly complained about like, hey, it's hard for me to make weight. In the case of Teofimo and Ryan Garcia, they complained that making lightweight was strenuous for him. For Errol Spence, he's like, hey, man down, I've been making this weight since I was in my teens and it's getting harder. Making weight is not easy. So for me, I prefer when the fighter actually moves up right when the moment you realize that, boom, move up. If you're like locked in a contract where you got one more fight that fight and then move up. But don't wait until you lose. And then now, and that's exactly what T.O. did. He waited till he lost to Kambosos, then he moved up to 140. Teofimo looked great versus Josh Taylor. The biggest question mark, he looked good versus Lomachenko. The biggest question mark people have is his fight with Kambosos. Like, who was that guy? And if he would have just moved up and vacated the belts after the Lomachenko fight when he was a unified champion, then there would be nothing to say. You would just be like, oh man, Teofimo's undefeated, but he ended up taking that loss. And I'm not saying, because I'm not taking away credit from Kambosos, not saying that it was just because of the weight, but nobody wants to hear that after, you know what I'm saying? And even if it's true, you know, boxing fans don't want to hear it. Same thing with Errol Spence. I don't doubt that making weight for him has become increasingly hard. But at the end of the day, you signed on the dotted line for 47 and Crawford gave you what you were looking for, right? So Ryan Garcia, same thing with Gervonta. He waited till he got knocked out and a blemished record. Now he moved up to 140. So I really wish Errol Spence would have negotiated more on the A side. Like the first fight, he was the A side. So I think he should have did the Floyd Mayweather way. You know what I mean? Where he's like, you know, you worked this hard to get in it. Because realistically, Errol helped put Crawford on because he could have been the A side. And then if Crawford had too many demands, just be like, all right, holler at me when you're ready. I'm the A side. I'm not doing all that. I'm not doing coin flips and I want to fight you at 54. I don't care about undisputed. I need to give my body a rest. But Errol Spence, you know, being a people pleaser or trying to do it for the fans or whatever, you know, his line of thinking was, I think that was definitely a mistake. He should have negotiated like the A side. And let that be known for 2024. Anybody watching my videos, if you are the A side, please act like it. Do not succumb and give into like boxing Twitter and all this goofy stuff and surrender your power. It's like this is what people are trying to get for Gervonta Davis. I get people want to see Gervonta Davis versus Devin Haney, but Tank is the A side, and that's just what it is. People want Tank to forego that and just fight Devin Haney where Devin Haney wants, because Devin Haney can no longer make 135 potentially. That's not Tank's issue. That's not Tank's problem. I mean, it is what it is. And if Devin, you know, has issues making weight, then maybe he's in the wrong division, you know? That's just how that goes. But you never seen this with, like, let's say Floyd Mayweather. He could have easily fought Ricky Hatton in the UK. Why? You can make a ish ton of money in Vegas and not give an away game. So anyway, I'll wrap this up. It's great to see Errol Spence back. I can't wait for the announcement and the rollout from PBC and also Errol Spence, seeing him back in the gym, seeing the details of the Terrence Crawford fight. Definitely Terrence Crawford is going into the rematch with the psychological advantage. And, you know, we'll see what the parameters are. Stay tuned to my channel and I will keep you guys updated when the rematch details become available and more information on Errol Spence. For now, check out that other Errol Spence video that I did. You'll definitely be interested in.